it's been a really busy year for MFOA. In a couple of minutes, Dan will give you a bit of a briefing about where we've been and where we're going. My focus as president has really been on expanding on some of the previous mandates associated with training. A couple of years ago, we did a monograph on the role of the treasurer. And as an organization, we've been slowly adding different training courses, and that's really been my focus. In the spring, we completed a number of courses, and in the fall, we're looking forward to some more courses. The Reserve and Reserve Fund, Asset Management Plans, Long-Term Financial Planning, and of course, our Fundamental Municipal Finance 101, which is a great overview of the various finance functions. And yes, there's a little card, and this is my way of plugging all of our courses. So if you haven't already signed up, take a look through. They're very, very interesting, and I think they'll be very educational for everyone involved. Although I've talked mainly about training, one of the outcomes of training is an outcome of a lot of the policy work. And MFOA has done considerable policy work. That really the training provides the skills that we need to address some of the things going forward. And it leads to MFOA's real focus, and it's our tagline, your authority on municipal finance. And that's really what we're here to do, is provide professionals with the information and skills they need to do their jobs. And with that, I'd like to actually get started on the official portion of our AGM. I'd like to start out this morning by congratulating Mona Monkman, she's been acclaimed, she's our Vice President. She will hopefully be joining us later on today and this evening, but couldn't make it here. And I'd also like to walk through the election results. So if I could ask Nancy Taylor to stand. Is Nancy here? There she is. So congratulations to Nancy from Clarington. She's our newest board member. As well, we have Julie Stevens from Muskoka and Mo Lewis from the city of Brampton, neither of whom could join us right now. And I'd also like to congratulate returning board members, Calvin Barrett. Calvin. And Patty Elliott Spencer, who couldn't join us as well from Mississauga. I'd also ask that any of the board members in the audience, would they please stand? I'd like to walk through them as well. So, and if you can just wave. Ron Kaufman. Shelley Alalopoulos. Did I get it right? I'm sorry, Shelley. Mike St. Armand. And Jim Gates. And we also have Carol Bush that, again, can't make the conference. I'd like to thank the board for all their help and support over the last year. It's been really appreciated. So thank you to all of them. Okay. The next portion is I'd like to look at, have everyone reference their 2011 MFOA financial statements. And I'd like to, just a bit of a highlight. The association adopted the Canadian standards for nonprofit organizations. And as you'll see in some of the information, you'll see, because of the transitional date, the comparative information for January 1st, 2010 is showing up, which may be something that you're not used to. And that's referenced in some of the notes. So at this point in time, I'd like to open the floor to any questions on the financial statements. None? Okay, at this point in time, can I have someone move the financial statements? And when you do so, please give your name. Okay, Calvin?
I'll move the approval of the receipt of the financial statements.
Okay, can I have a seconder? Jim Gates? Second it. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, carried. The next order of business, I would like to have a motion. Can someone motion for the confirmation of our auditors, KPMG, for the next fiscal year? If I can have a mover. Stephen Carnes. Okay, and a seconder. Nancy Taylor from Clarington. Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The last order of business, really, before we pass it over to Dan, is the minutes from the previous meeting will be distributed at the next AGM. So at this point, I'd like to pass it over to Dan for a quick update.
What I want to talk briefly about today with you is some of the projects that we are working on and have been working on. I'm going to as well talk to you a little bit about some of the training. Don has talked to you a bit about that as well already. I'd like to talk to you a bit about some of the committees that we have. Some are new, some are old. We are revamping some of the old and are quite excited about some of the new. And we have some new staff at MFOA as well that I'd like to sort of introduce you to, although some of our new staff are not with us present here today. This small table is a bit of an update of some of the projects that we have been working on and are working on. I've tried to create or divide these into two categories. There's some stuff that has been recently completed that we've been working on diligently over the course of the last little while. These include our virtual library. This has recently circulated. We have had some very significant and positive feedback on the virtual library. It is a very substantial collection of all kinds of things. It's intended to be a resource for all of you folks. But it's a resource that's built on the stuff that you give us. So it's built in the belief that there's good policies and procedures and so forth out there in the sector, and it's our goal to try and track those to our association and put them on the library so that everybody else can benefit from them. So a type of information brokerage role. We think that the launch of it was well received. We're now in the next phase of trying to maintain it and build upon that. We recently released our tax monograph, which was a work that was somewhat overdue, but I think it was also it's been fairly well received so far based on the remarks and comments we've got. It's intended for new time folks that are sort of new to the tax game. It's not for the veterans like myself and Jim Logan, if you're in here, who have been through this business from day one. We recently released our slide deck on that summarized all the work we did on an impact working group, and that work was really focused on some of the data issues and timeliness and accuracy of some of the material we get from MPAC. And we had a meeting with the senior MPAC officials on that. We released that slide deck. Stuff we're working on right now, which is coming, and when we say very soon, I put the very part in caps, it really is coming out quite quickly. One is a series of OMERS newsletters intended to try and sort of raise the information level about OMERS. It's not really intended at this stage to be an input into the OMERS governance because the deadline for submissions was passed, and most of the newsletters we're writing really don't address the issues that the governance is focusing on. We have been working, or had been working, on a DC report. For those of you in the room that might think that DC stands for Dan Cowan, I just want to let you know that's not the case. It's actually development charges. We're on the verge of releasing that report. We're just dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Yes, I had that right. The next piece is Municipal Act Review. There's a number of components. I'll talk a bit about those in a moment. Another project that's not a policy project that we're working on is our website. It's our primary tool to communicate with you. Our website is not at the moment what we want it to be. I'm very hopeful that this is the last time I stand in front of a group of my members and tell them what we're doing. I shouldn't have to do this. You should be able to go to our website and know what we're doing, and you will be able to do that as soon as we get it revamped. We are also releasing a couple of reports that we've done in the past and hadn't released for various reasons. I'm kind of calling that cleanup. We had done a working paper. We had a committee that reviewed Watertight. That was the piece on water governance and so forth. And we have had a piece in the can on PSAB and budgeting that we have not released, but we will be releasing in the next little while. So I think most of my remarks on the virtual library have really already been made. It is intended to be a one-stop information place for you. I think the thing that I would really want to stress, and we've been stressing this absolutely everywhere we go, and we hear the slightest hint of that you may have a policy that will appeal to us. We are handing out business cards and asking you to send it to us, and you've all done that, so we now have a very substantial library, but we really do require you to continue to help us and to contribute to the virtual library, to continue to keep it growing and to keep it timely. The OMERS newsletters I've talked to you about already. I've told you a bit of the purpose. OMERS is getting to be quite an issue. It's raised everywhere we go, so we thought, as I said, we'd get some information out to raise the bar. Even my poor friend Tom Bradbury last night was assailed. He was doing golf prizes, and he was clearing a bit of a table at the OMERS exhibit to put out the prizes, and somebody came up to him and started tearing into him about the contribution rates. So he tried to say he was just doing golf prizes, and that seemed to pacify somebody, but the contribution rates have been an issue certainly at our board and elsewhere, so we think there's probably something to be said for raising the bar a bit. So that's what those are about, and I've listed 2 or 3 of the topics that we will be covering in those newsletters, and the newsletters are out with our editors at the moment who are doing the fact checks and the accuracy checks. So back to the DC report. The DC report that we've written deals with building a case for reform of the DCA. There's only a handful of recommendations in there. Basically, we want the 97 Act to look a lot like the 89 Act. No discounts, no ineligible services, all of that kind of business. DC reform has been something our board has been pushing now for at least a decade. I have, in fact, I have a letter in my office, Deputy, from Minister Garretson going back many, many years saying that he will be calling us very soon to set up a working group. I have not gotten the phone call yet, and I sit by the phone every day. But we will continue to push this issue, and it doesn't seem to have legs at the moment, but we're going to push it nonetheless. Municipal Act review is, this is a year that the Municipal Act is under review. Lots and lots of things come under the Municipal Act. It deals with debt and investment. We obviously run an investment program at MFOA in conjunction with our partners at LAS. So we are involved with the Debt and Investment Committee to try and expand the eligible investment regulation for all of our investors. We are also working with a number of associations. We'll be meeting, in fact, next week with OMTRA and some of our sponsors regarding some of the aspects related to taxation. We think that there's a bunch of housekeeping amendments that we could be looking at, things related to things like vacancies and so on. We've been hearing about some changes that might be required with respect to tax sales, been talking to some people even at this conference about that. On the policy side, most of that will be housekeeping. I think on the policy side, the big thing we're going to push for is for an option for municipalities to get out of the capping regime. With respect to new alternative revenue sources, this is something we tried out certainly at every Municipal Act review. To be honest, we had thought that we might not trot that out this time because we weren't sure it had legs. We didn't know how much interest there was in our sector. But as we've been going around talking to folks, there's actually a lot of interest for at least the 2 taxes that the City of Toronto, I have to use the past tense, had since they handed one of them back. And that would be the vehicle registration tax and the land transfer tax. And the land transfer tax in particular raises a lot of money in my municipality, which is the City of Toronto. We are thinking of looking at potentially other charges. We've kind of called them congestion charges here. We already have a section in the Act that deals with toll roads, but it has never had any regulations. And we are well aware that Metrolinx is looking at alternative revenues as well, so we'll be looking at some of those in addition to the 2 that the City of Toronto has. I think Don has talked to you a bit about the training program. This is obviously, this is 2012, so this is the fall version. We're going to be out there, I think, as you know, with reserve and reserve funds, long-term planning. We've got the second phase of our FIR and MPP training that we've been doing in conjunction with the Minister of Municipal Affairs, and we're very grateful for the financial support that they provided that allowed us to write down the registration fees. Every time I go out and to those courses, I do have to remind our members not to expect those fee structures in the future unless you can get the ministry to continue to support and subsidize our rates. I understand that Ron is going to tell you later today, if he hasn't already, about the deadline for the 2013 program. We sort of agreed to the end of November, so pretend that December isn't appearing on this slide. MFIP, I think you've heard a fair bit about this program, and here's some of the things that people are working on and have worked on. We are extremely happy about this program and very proud to be a part of it. And the biggest thing that there's two things that I've enjoyed about this program is meeting all of these interns. They're absolutely amazing, and I'm really glad I'm not in the marketplace competing with them. But the other thing about this program that I really, really like is the fact that it does create a deliverable that has a demonstration effect, that has a benefit back to the rest of the sector. We have interns that will be presenting here at the conference on a variety of topical subjects. They're very, very good and knowledgeable. I'll be hosting Dave Stewart on asset management a little later today. The deliverables have been done to date at an extraordinarily high quality. I really do urge you to go to our website and download some of these documents and deliverables. It's well worth the time. Partnerships with respect to training. Some of these are in early stages and in the works. The first one with respect to OGRA, OCSI, that is the Ontario Coalition for Sustainable Infrastructure. There's a number of organizations, most of them engineering firms actually, that are keenly interested in asset management and infrastructure maintenance. We've recently been invited to join that coalition as the sole sort of finance voice on that group. We're imagining doing a lot more on asset management going ahead into the future with those folks. We're doing cost of development studies with the ministry, MFB. It's an acronym I'm familiar with, having come from that branch, the Municipal Finance branch at the Ministry of Municipal Affairs. We are looking to doing municipal finance certifications potentially with Seneca College. We are building long-term financial planning case studies with AMO. Nigel Bellchamber and I presented on that work at AMO in August, and a number of the participating municipalities are here, in fact, today. And lastly, we are working on long-term financial planning coursework with GFOA BC. It's been a wonderful partnership so far. They have a wonderful approach to training and course development, and we've decided that there's a lot of benefit from us talking to each other and not pushing the same pencil. So, new committees. We have a YPN committee, that's Young Professionals Network at MFOA. This is brand new. We do urge all of the young folks to identify yourself and come forward and join this network. We think there's going to be lots of positive benefits for young professionals. If you don't, we will find you, we will hunt you down, and we will recruit you. So there's no point in trying to hide. Our next committee is Big Issues in Small Places. We're well aware that there's lots and lots of places that have huge challenges because of lack of staff, lack of resources, and so forth, and we've formed a committee. You're going to get an update. Gordon is going to give our first professional committee, our policy committee update, and he's from BISP, and he will tell you a bit about what they're doing. We also have an update from our finance policy committee, so I'm not going to do that. We have a brand new policy committee, literally just met for the very first time about 2 weeks ago. It deals with accounting and financial reporting. We're just putting together our terms of reference. We've identified an initial work plan. So stay tuned for that. We will, by the way, we're going to be developing, as part of our website redevelopment, sort of standalone web pages for each of our committees. So you won't have, we'll be posting minutes and agendas and any research and all the rest of it. So it's not going to be a secret what our committees are up to. Our Professional Development Committee is going to be looking very shortly at a new terms of reference. We'll be looking for some new faces. We've already inserted onto that committee some young professionals and some folks from small places so that we have the full range of interests that exist in our membership on that committee. And finally, our POA committee, that's our Provincial Offences Act committee. They're actually doing very interesting work. There's consultations going on right now about tools and so on to enhance POA collections, and why this is being led out of the Ministry of Transportation now and not MAG, I have no idea, but it is. So we're hopeful that we will get some results through the POA committee and through that work. Now, with respect to new staff, I'm real pleased to have all of these folks on hand. Only I guess one of them is here. I think by now Kim has been with us since May. Kim Varian, who's our manager of conferences and training. You may have met Kim at the symposium. I'm sure you've run into Kim here. She's absolutely everywhere simultaneously. And she's been doing an absolute job, and we are very, very pleased to have her. I'm not quite sure where she is at the moment. Kim, back corner. We have recently hired Shira Babbins as our Supervisor of Accounting and Corporate Services. She's absolutely another outstanding individual. She's only been in the building literally for a handful of weeks. Gurjeet Bains is our Information Technology Coordinator, a person we've needed desperately. We've been technology challenged, shall we say, and I suppose I should offer up apologies even now for a number of the technology snafus that we're well aware of that have gone on in the last six months or so. You can expect to see changes there. Gurjeet is outstanding. I had him in with one of our IT consulting firms, and they started talking back and forth. I didn't understand a word, so I knew Gurjeet could at least speak their language, and that made me happy. I think the last message I'd like to say to you is please, please, please feel free to contact us. I've only got the names of sort of the policy and training people up here, but feel free to contact anybody at our association. Contact anybody on our board for that matter as well. Anybody on any of our committees, if you think you have a small an issue that's for BISP, call anybody on the committee. But please feel free to get in touch with our association. I've put Kim and Emily Harris as our policy advisor. I've got their emails up there. I've got my email up there. You can see my responsibility is anything. I'm desperately lonely. I need somebody to talk to. Please email, talk to me. We're absolutely anxious to hear your feedback and your opinions. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Gordon, who I think is going to give you a bit of an update on BISP.
I'm pleased to report that the Big Issues and Small Places Committee is off to a busy and a productive start. What I find good is the committee is composed of representatives of small municipalities from near the Manitoba border to eastern Ontario to Lake Erie. And we define a small municipality as one with a population of 15,000 or less. At our first meeting, we brainstormed about many issues that are of interest to us. It's obvious that in order to develop an achievable action plan, we needed to narrow our focus. We therefore settled on 3 priorities: non-resident user fees, succession planning, and infrastructure and asset management. The committee intends to survey MFOA members to increase our understanding of the issue of non-resident fees on a broader and more provincial scale, and try to come up with guiding principles which will help us to set non-resident fees, encourage best practices, and again, probably through the use of the virtual library, exchange best practices and examples. Succession planning, and again, there's a lot of young people here, which is great to see, but it's a critical issue as many of us transition from full-time to perhaps part-time. And this is an issue I know I see in our municipality, far beyond municipal staff, public works, recreation, everything. Somehow we've got to integrate the rules of OMERS and Canada Pension Plan too, so that we can transition, because keeping drug benefits may be a great concern, or maximizing your pension without having an impact. As part of our outreach to young people, in addition to the intern program, we're trying to tighten our relationships with post-secondary educational institutions. We're going to send an open letter to Ontario schools, and we also encourage all of you to network with students at educational events, including working with the Young Professional Network and creating information orientation packages which are good for new employees of all ages. As you know, infrastructure funding is a constant challenge, especially for small municipalities with slow-growing or declining assessment bases. As infrastructure stimulus grants are ending, governments are requiring, as we all know, these costly and complex asset management plans. So we're creating jobs in the consulting sector, but we have to do our own work too. MFOA will be providing one-day seminars on the requirements of these asset management plans in the next 3 or 4 weeks, and I encourage you to attend one of the sessions in our area. To sum up, thanks to our enthusiastic and very smart facilitator, Emily Harris, our committee has been able to increase communication between our geographically separated towns and villages. If you have any comments or suggestions, please contact any of the committee members, and they're listed on the website in your program too. And if there's any committee members here today, I'd ask you to stand up, and I know there's a few of you. Stand up, here we are. Great, so come up and talk to those people too. So, thank you.
Good morning. I'm Marion Van Bernessen. I'm the treasurer for the County of Frontenac, and I'm part of the Finance Policy Committee. And I would like to ask those committee members who are in the room to stand up also. Is there anybody here? So these folks have been working very hard on your behalf. And first of all, I want to say it's a great opportunity to work with my peers from municipalities of various sizes. And I would urge anybody who has the opportunity to work or to volunteer for a committee for MFOA to do so, because it really is a great experience. And secondly, Gordon's already indicated, but thank you so much to Emily, because without her help and facilitation, we probably wouldn't be as far ahead as we are with the issues that we've been working on. And so what have we been working on? Well, we've got three main focuses. The first focus that the group is working on is asset management and infrastructure financing strategies. So we have a list of different asset management frameworks that we've put together, some basic best practices. We've interviewed a number of asset management leaders, and we will be having a survey about quantifying the local infrastructure deficit. Our second focus is full accrual budgeting. Everybody's favorite, right? So we're going to undertake a survey to see who is interested in or who has pursued full accrual budgeting. And we will interview municipalities that use this model of budgeting to understand how the conversion was made from cash or modified cash to accrual budgeting, what information was required, and what benefits were realized, with the intent of providing you with the insights derived from those interviews. And a third focus area is improving the FIR. A subgroup was developed to track problem schedules and explain the issues and propose changes to municipal affairs. And those in Eastern Ontario know that I've bugged them consistently about providing their input. And let me indicate to all of you that we're still open for your input. We know that the process, you should be pretty well through the process now of completing your FIRs, we hope. And so any of the challenges that you have identified, please share with those members of the group that we're standing. And we hopefully also will coordinate with other groups that are interested in strengthening the comparative value of the FIR, BMA and the Star Treasurers Group. And Municipal Affairs is interested in improving the FIR, and we're hoping that our input will assist with that improvement. So coming soon to an inbox near you, we will be having a survey on the state of asset management in your community, and also a survey on full accrual budgeting. And we believe the outcome of these surveys will be extremely useful, so we urge you to complete them. Thanks very much.
Dan, Gord, Marion, thank you very much for those updates. And I'd also like to thank all the committee members that volunteer on behalf of MFOA. And just a round of applause for all of them, please.